Welcome back to another episode of the Canon. I'm your host Terry, and today I'm doing my top 10 movies of 2018 so far. We are at the mid-year as we get to the end of June, and going to list out my top 10 movies that I've seen so far. Again, this is my top 10, not telling you what to think, all that good stuff. Your list is not going to be the same as mine. So there's no reason to argue. We just have different tastes. That's fine. Not telling you what's the best movies, not telling you what's going to win Oscars, any of that. This is just my list of my favorite movies so far this year. And I say we're having a pretty good year. I remember sitting here a year ago, struggling to fill out a top 10. Definitely had some really good ones, but as I got towards the bottom, it was hard to put together, those few. So, this one I had no trouble not only putting together 10, but I had to fight between a handful trying to get into those last few spots. So we have more than enough quality movies, I would think, that I would call top 10 this year. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So number 10, I have I Feel Pretty. I already know a lot of people are gonna have something to say about it, but it's the cool thing to hate on Amy Schumer, and you know what? That's your prerogative if that's you. For me, the movie was great. I mean, Amy Schumer aside, like what she does outside of this movie, whatever. I'm talking about the actual I Feel Pretty, and a lot of people trashed this before they even saw it or gave it a chance. And I will say that not only was Amy Schumer very fearless in the lead role, where she she just kind of put herself out there, and I thought it was nice. I mean, a lot of people gave Tiffany Haddish credit for Girls Trip and acting wild and, doing some crazy stuff. And they're like, she's so fearless comedically, but no one gave credit to Amy Schumer, who not only was just doing it for the comedy, but she did have to put her body out there and say the things that a lot of people don't really say on screen, and especially in Hollywood. So that, and then the comedy was pretty good. Roy Chauvel's one of my favorite comedians, plays a boyfriend. So the comedy was definitely solid, but I just think the message overall was so powerful. If you didn't see it, I mean, of course there's this message about confidence, but there's other things in there too that they didn't have to put in there. When you're talking about the one girl from Robin Thicke's video that everybody's obsessed with, she was in there. She was really hot, of course, but the message that she was saying to Amy Schumer's character is like, just because, people consider me gorgeous don't mean I don't have problems, don't mean, I don't go through things, and people think because you look good, you just have everything, and that's not true. So they put a well-rounded message out there that I thought hit home pretty well, and I was really shocked by how well they did this movie. Number 9, recent addition, Uncle Drew. Let's go. Kyrie Irving is legit, people. I'm telling you. This movie was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun this year, I should say, so far. This is definitely one of them that's up there for me. While there's things cinematically, of course, that weren't the best, this was just a fun movie. I mean, you really look at it for what it is, but not even just giving it a pass, but looking at Kyrie Irving saying that he really delivered as Uncle Drew for a basketball player, like straight basketball player. The guy really did well in the lead role. And of course, there's a lot of physical basketball that he's already good at, but the acting part was very, it was very on point for me. Comedy was real good. It's just one of them fun movies. Like, you can't deny the fun that they're having as a cast and the good the good comedy that they put on screen. I saw it twice already. It just came out, and I enjoyed it probably even more the second time. So, I thought it was great writing and, simple story, but a lot of fun. Number 8, Incredibles 2. This is an interesting one. I would say I just saw it again, for the second time. The second time was way less enjoyable than the first time. And it's funny because I saw it the first time in the double feature. So these are people all decked out in Incredibles gear. Like, we sat through both movies. It was rocking. And I still think the movie's good, but I think the atmosphere was hyping it up a little bit, because the second time I watched it, I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep a couple times, like nodded off a couple times. And I didn't think the story was that great the first time I saw it, but the second time you really see the slow parts once you know what's coming. And so there are really fun parts when the family's actually together. There's fun parts with all the new heroes and all that. And of course Jack. But overall, I think the movie is not as good as the first one. And it doesn't, I don't know, there's just something missing with it, but it still brings high quality world building and animation. Brings you the characters you love and really expanding on them. And I like Screenslaver's mission, but again, the story just wasn't that strong for me. But, you know, it was a very well made movie. You can't argue with that. And it's definitely an enjoyable one. Number 7, we got A Quiet Place. Now, this is probably my highest ranked movie as far as a grade. But again, these are just my favorite movies, and you know, you don't enjoy everyone the same. And while I love the creativity and the atmosphere A Quiet Place did, and I think the story was good, the performances were great. Of course, that's not a movie you're going to watch all the time. I only seen it the one time, and it was enough, and it was great. Yeah, it's just, you know, it's something, it's different. It's something that you just can't latch on to as much as a favorite movie when, you know, they're not talking and stuff. But it's definitely high quality. I would never change the grade on it. It's just, as far as a ranking, it probably won't be that high. But an excellent movie, excellent debut from, John Krasinski as a director. His wife, Emily Blunt. I thought everybody had great chemistry. Even though the daughter was super annoying, I did like the way it wrapped up, and it was a great movie. Number 6, I got Black Panther. Yes, sir. Saw the movie 10 times. What can I say? I definitely have my issues with it. And that's the thing. When I love a movie, I have probably the most issues with the movies I love, because, you know, I watch so much and I got nitpicks. So I got issues with the movie, and I wouldn't put it number 1, but it probably is one of the most enjoyable ones that I watch. Again, I watched it over and over, own it, watched it last night. Black Panthers, that's the stuff. And there's parts that could have been a lot better, but overall, man, you can't, you know, beat the groundbreaking nature of it, the world building of it, just a very different side of the MCU that we haven't seen before. And I thought Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa was good, but I thought the ancillary characters, as far as Nakia, as far as Shuri, as far as M'Baku, everybody I thought was just a really well-rounded ensemble cast. So I thought everybody did well, and it just had so much flavor that was different than anything we've seen before with a superhero movie. Number 5, Game Night. Oh, I love Game Night. Yes, Game Night is so funny. This was a surprise. I mean, it definitely was a concept that I was looking forward to once I heard it. Then the ensemble came together, and it was just like, okay, you know, I thought they were going to go with a different type of group, but hey, this chemistry works, and that's one of the things with these movies. The chemistry has to work, and I thought Jason Bateman, he's good. He's a good actor. He's decent at comedy, but leading a comedy, I was a little hesitant. And even Rachel McAdams, I wondered how funny she would be. But again, this group came together so perfectly, and I thought it was just a well-structured story to put these people in situations to maximize their funny. It wasn't like a Scooby-Doo, let's hang together all night. Everybody started separated, and you got to see them handle it as, you know, couples. Then they came together as a team, and I just thought it was really well balanced. And it's just fun. And Gary puts this movie over the top, to be honest with you. Gary is probably one of my favorite characters of 2018. So absolutely love this movie. But speaking of chemistry, number 4 is Tag. I love Tag, man. I love Tag. Tag and Game Night are so closely tied, it's ridiculous. I kept flipping back and forth between these two. The reason I would put Tag higher is that Tag has more heart than Game Night. Game Night is funny, and it's just fun. It's good. It's fun. And it goes throughout the whole movie, so it's definitely highly rated. But Tag is funny and it's fun, but it also gets to an emotional swell that you don't really expect at all. Like, I saw the movie twice, and both times at the end, you know, I'm on the verge of tears. It has a real sweet message, I think, and you don't expect that, especially how wild the movie gets. And I think it's capped off by the ending where they show you footage of the real life people that play this game to really show you that this is real and that, you know, how much it builds friendship. And so, Tag got the nod because of the heart that it had. Number 3, Ready Player One. This could have been my number 2 actually, but, I was floored. I've seen Spielberg movies, of course, but I haven't seen his whole catalog. So maybe there's repeats and there's things that people are like, you know, okay, that's not fresh to me. But for me, it all felt fresh. Of course, there's a lot of references to things, but just the pure adventure of that movie felt fresh to me. If you're talking about everything in Oasis and the way it works, I was sold. And how fun it is and how funny. But then you throw on top also the dystopian part and the business part and how these businesses are pretty much evil and all that stuff. It was so good. I mean, it was really good. I mean, you had the friendship part. You had the commentary on real life or reality and virtual reality and people actually getting to know people. You had again, the business and the corporate greed. But you also had a lot of fun, man. Like all those different characters, King Kong, all these things you got to see. The race, the mysteries were pretty good. They weren't like super easy. T.J. Miller brought a good level of comedy. The villains were funny too. It was like they were not menacing, but they were evil, but they were also funny at the same time. It was really well put together. It just felt like it had a lot of thought put into it. And I'm telling you, maybe it's because I saw it in Adobe Prime the first time, but either way, I was blown away when I watched. I think I've seen it 3 times, and each time I'm just watching this movie like, holy crap. I'm like I can't even take in everything that I'm seeing. So it was just so fun. It was so fun. And I think I like it a lot more than other people do, but it's definitely high up there. Number 2, Tully. Oh man, Charlize Theron, man, never been more attractive to me. I was never a big, like, oh, she's so sexy, but seeing her just be really real and really motherly but honest at the same time, I was more attracted to that. But the point of the movie is, I would say it's not like this typical indie movie where it's just like heavy drama. It's more real life. There's drama. There's some sad parts. There's some heavy parts. There's some light parts. There's some laughs. And Charlize just carries it. And then this movie really sold me on Mackenzie Davis, who I thought was just kind of there in Blade Runner 2049. Some people thought she was great. I'm like, okay. But I think this movie really sold it to me. And what they did with the story and just really kind of the deconstruction of this character and breaking down her whole thing, it was great. And at the end is what put it over the top for me. I know it's the device of how the ending went, but for me, that put it over the top. I like when you look at real life, but I love when you look at real life with a twist of not fantasy, but, you know, a little bit of psychology fantasy. And so I like that, and it really put it over the top for me as far as over Ready Player One, because it had a lot of heart, but I just thought it was really well rounded, and I enjoyed the movie. Number 1, Avengers Infinity War. You gotta give it to Thanos. And it's interesting. It is so interesting that this becomes number 1, because, I mean, yes, we go through the summer season, so, you know, blockbusters are there. But usually early on in the year, you get these kind of indie movies or low-key movies that kind of blow you away. And I would expect that there was something that would top a comic book movie, but we haven't got that so far, at least not to me. So I absolutely love Infinity War. Seen it about 5-6 times. And the thing that you gotta love about it is that it's well-rounded. And they always say that about MCU movies. But this time it was really well-rounded. Like, I've already talked about my issues with Civil War and other movies. This movie, I think, just has less problems with it. Whether you're talking about the dialogue, whether you're talking about the script and plot holes. They've always been good, the Russos, with splitting the time between people. Of course, MCU is known for balance and humor. But I thought they went a little darker, which raised the stakes. And I thought they also, they just had a better villain, which raised the stakes and made you more invested. And then, of course, the guts to do what they did at the end. I mean, it's been out for a while, but, you know, if you didn't see it, I guess I won't say. But what they did, and it's not just what they did within the story, it's what it meant for the bigger world and the MCU. And the fact that, to me, I still don't understand why they did it, because they're really, or the way they did it, they're stuck in a hole right now that they still haven't really fully explained, or, you know, it kind of lowered the stakes because of what's coming next. But they still gotta give a lot of guts that they did it and they signed off on it. And if you look at this movie just by itself, this is a true movie where the villain wins, which is something we haven't had before. But yeah, you can't discount the spectacle of it all. Having all these people, even though they didn't all come together, they were all in the same movie. And it was just an amazing balancing act, which by itself would get you in the top 10. But then the fact that you add in a compelling character that I absolutely adore with Thanos, then that puts it over the top for me, and it's super enjoyable. Like, I can't wait to buy that. I'm going to watch it so many different times. And like I said in my review, it's almost like a bunch of different movies, which is positive and negative. But I could throw on that movie and just watch, you know, boom, the set piece with Titan. I could just throw on and watch the Guardians little thing with Thor and be content, because it's all good content. So, number one for me. I will say that I'm watching Thoroughbreds and Gemini tonight, two movies I heard a lot about and excited to see those. So maybe those would have been top 10. Who knows? Couple honorable mentions. I guess I say Blockers. Blockers was up there for me. It was close to being on there. Deadpool 2, of course, was close to being on there for me. And I think that's it. I can't remember any. So those are my couple honorable mentions, but we'll see as we get into the more heavy Oscar season and whatnot, what stays on the top 10 by the end of the year. But anyway, I want to hear your top 10 so far. Go to the comment section. Let me know what's your personal top 10 of 2018 so far. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, get the convo started. And remember, if you heard it here, it's official canon.